The night I turned 18 didn't end in a fight. That's what made it worse. The backyard was already lit, string lights glowing softly, chairs arranged the way I'd planned them, a cake waiting on the counter with candles still in the box. My phone was face down on the table. When I finally picked it up, there were no excited messages, no "I'm on my way," no laughter drifting closer to the house. Just silence. I didn't know yet that the invitations had been quietly undone, that texts had been sent without me, that my birthday had been erased with the same calm efficiency used to cancel a dentist appointment. Inside, my brother sat slouched on the couch, still angry about his ruined day. My mother moved through the kitchen with that careful tone she used when she thought she was being reasonable. No one raised their voice. No one asked how I felt. That was the moment it hit me. This wasn't about cake or decorations or turning 18. It was about how easily my milestone had been traded for someone else's comfort and how familiar that exchange felt. I didn't cry. I didn't argue. I smiled, faintly, because something inside me finally clicked. Being erased hurts. But it also clarifies. And once you see the truth clearly, you stop asking permission to change your life. My name is Elena Moore, and long before my 18th birthday was ever cancelled, my role in our family had already been decided. My younger brother, Ryan Moore, was what my mother liked to call sensitive. He felt things deeply, she said. He needed patience, protection, space to process his emotions. Every outburst came with an explanation, every mistake with a soft landing. If Ryan was upset, the house adjusted around him like gravity had shifted. I was labeled something else. I was strong. Strong meant I didn't cry as easily. Strong meant I could wait. Strong meant I would understand. When seats were limited, I stood. When plans changed, I adapted. When attention ran out, I was expected not to need it. My mother, Karen Moore, used the word like praise, but it functioned more like permission to overlook me. My father, David Moore, wasn't cruel. He was just quiet. He believed calm was the same as fairness and silence was the same as neutrality. If no one was yelling, he assumed things were fine. And since I rarely raised my voice, he took that as proof that I was okay. This pattern didn't announce itself. It accumulated. Holidays that revolved around Ryan's moods. Conversations that paused when he grew irritated. Decisions made in back rooms where I was never invited because, you won't mind. By the time I turned 18, being overlooked felt almost normal. Almost. But roles that are tolerated in childhood become unbearable when you finally start asking who you're allowed to be as an adult. And somewhere beneath all that practiced understanding, something in me had been quietly keeping score. The day everything tilted didn't begin with my birthday. It started earlier that afternoon, when Ryan came home slamming the front door hard enough to rattle the picture frames. His plans had fallen apart. A road trip with friends, a concert he'd been counting down to for months gone because the car broke down hours from the venue. He paced the living room, phone in hand, replaying the story to anyone who would listen, each retelling sharper than the last. My mother hovered near him, offering sympathy, snacks, space. My father nodded along, murmuring that it really was terrible luck. No one mentioned the string lights I'd spent the morning hanging in the backyard. No one asked how I felt watching the clock creep toward the evening I'd been waiting for all year. At one point, Ryan glanced outside and scoffed. "So she still gets her party," he said, not even using my name. "Must be nice." I tried to laugh it off. I told myself it was just stress talking. But then he said the sentence that changed everything. "If I can't enjoy today," he muttered loud enough for everyone to hear, "then neither should she." My mother went quiet. That silence lasted only a second, but it was enough. She picked up her phone and walked into the kitchen, already typing. When she came back, she didn't look at me. "I've told people you're not feeling well," she said gently, as if delivering medicine instead of erasing something. "We can do this another time." Another time. The decorations stayed up. The cake sat untouched. And just like that, the day I thought would mark my independence became another reminder that in our house, someone else's disappointment always outweighed my joy. I didn't explode when my birthday was cancelled. I waited. I watched my mother move through the house like she'd made the responsible choice. I watched my father retreat into his quiet corners. I watched Ryan sink into the couch, satisfied in the way only someone who has been protected their whole life can be. Later that evening, when the house had settled into an uneasy calm, I finally spoke. "So this was really the only option?" I asked, standing in the doorway of the kitchen. My voice didn't shake. That surprised even me. My mother sighed as if I were asking her to justify something obvious. "Elena, your brother had a horrible day," she said. "You know how hard things are for him. We just needed to keep the peace." Keep the peace. The phrase landed like it always did, heavy, final. I looked at my father. "What do you think?" He didn't meet my eyes. "Let's not turn this into a bigger issue," he said quietly. "We'll make it up to you. You're strong. You understand." That word again. Ryan laughed under his breath. "You're really making this about you," he said. "I lost my entire trip. This week isn't about you." Something shifted in my chest. Not anger, clarity. "I'm not asking for a fight," I said. "I just want to understand something." I turned back to my parents. "In 18 years, has there ever been a day that was actually about me?" The room went silent. My mother opened her mouth, then closed it. My father stared at the counter. Ryan rolled his eyes, already bored. No one answered. And in that silence, I realized the question itself was the problem, not because it was unfair, but because it exposed something they had never planned to confront. The doorbell rang just as the silence in the kitchen became unbearable. At first, no one moved. My mother glanced toward the front door like it might go away if she ignored it. The bell rang again, firm this time. My father finally pushed himself off the counter and went to answer it, his steps heavy with reluctance. I heard his voice shift. "Aunt Marianne? What are you doing here?" I stepped into the hallway as she rolled her small suitcase over the threshold. She took in the half-lit backyard through the sliding door, the drooping banner, the untouched cake on the counter. Her eyes flicked to my face, then to my mother's. "Oh," she said softly. "So I'm not late." "Adavo, and Osabo." My mother forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Elena isn't feeling well," she said quickly. "We had to cancel." Marianne's gaze dropped to my jeans and sweatshirt, to the lack of blankets, tissues, or even a glass of water. "Sick," she repeated, not unkindly. "I texted you this morning." No reply. I thought I'd surprise her. She turned to me. "Happy 18th birthday." The words hit harder than I expected. Marianne had always been observant in a way that made my mother uneasy. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't accuse. She simply asked, "Elena, what actually happened?" No one had ever asked me that before. I hesitated, feeling all three of them watching me, waiting to see if I'd stick to the script. Then I took a breath and told the truth about Ryan's ruined trip, about the sentence he'd said, about the text sent without my consent. I didn't cry. I didn't exaggerate. I just spoke. When I finished, the room was painfully quiet. Marianne nodded slowly, like something had finally clicked into place. And in that moment, I understood this night was no longer just about a cancelled party, it was about everything that had been quietly rewritten for years. Marianne didn't speak right away. She looked from my parents to Ryan, then back to me, as if she were rearranging a picture she thought she understood. "There's something you should know," she said finally, her voice steady. "Because tonight didn't come out of nowhere. Are you?" My mother stiffened. My father straightened, suddenly alert. "For the past 2 years," Marianne continued, "I've been helping keep this household afloat, rent support, emergency transfers, extra money when things were tight." She paused, letting the words settle. "I was told it was for the family. For both kids." I felt my stomach drop. My mother tried to interrupt something about pride, about circumstances, but Marianne raised a hand. "I didn't mind helping," she said. "I believed you were doing your best. I believed the sacrifices were shared." She turned to Ryan. "But what I'm seeing is a system where one child's comfort decides everything." Ryan scoffed. "That's not fair," he muttered. "I'm under pressure." "So is she," Marianne replied calmly, nodding toward me. "The difference is, she's expected to absorb it quietly." The room shifted. My parents weren't angry yet, just scared. The kind of fear that comes when a safety net is named out loud. "I won't keep funding this imbalance," Marianne said. "Not another month. Not another excuse. My mother's voice broke. You can't just cut us off. I'm not cutting off the kids, Marianne answered. I'm stepping out of a pattern that hurts one of them. No one looked at me. They were too busy calculating consequences. And that was when it hit me. My birthday hadn't been cancelled because there were no options. It had been cancelled because this was easier than changing a system that relied on my silence. Marianne turned to me after everything was said, her expression softer now. You don't have to stay here, she said. Not tonight. Not if you don't want to. The room erupted. My mother accused her of overstepping, of turning a family issue into a spectacle. My father tried to calm everyone down, his hands raised like he could stop what was already unfolding. Ryan laughed bitterly, calling it dramatic, unnecessary, another example of me making things difficult. No one asked what I wanted. Marianne's offer was simple. I could come stay with her. Finish school somewhere that didn't revolve around managing someone else's emotions. Take a breath before deciding anything permanent. My mother framed it as betrayal. You're running away, she said. Families don't do this to each other. Ryan called it attention-seeking. You'll be back, he said. You always are. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I just went upstairs. My room looked exactly the same as it had that morning, balloons sagging in the corner. The outfit I'd planned to wear folded neatly on the bed. I packed quietly. Jeans. A few shirts. My notebook, the things that were mine. When I came back downstairs, no one tried to stop me. They were too busy convincing themselves I'd regret it. At the door, I paused. Not to make a speech. Just to take one last look at the house that had taught me to disappear politely. I didn't slam the door when I left. I simply walked away, and for the first time, that felt like choosing myself. I didn't hear about the fallout right away. At first, the silence felt deliberate, like they were waiting for me to panic and come back. I didn't. Bits of the truth reached me slowly, through short phone calls and secondhand comments. Without Marianne's support, the strain they'd been hiding surfaced almost immediately. Bills stacked up. Plans unraveled. Conversations that used to end with, "We'll figure it out later," suddenly had no later to lean on. Ryan struggled the most. Without constant buffering, his frustrations had nowhere to go. The job he treated like a temporary inconvenience became a lifeline he resented. He clashed with coworkers. He missed shifts. For the first time, his moods had consequences that no one could smooth over. My parents tried to hold things together, but they didn't know how without a quiet absorber in the room. Small arguments turned sharp. Long-standing assumptions were questioned. The family narrative that everything worked because everyone was trying couldn't survive contact with reality. What hurt the most was how quickly blame found me. If I'd just been patient. If I'd stayed. If I'd understood how fragile things really were. But I hadn't broken anything. I hadn't exposed secrets. I hadn't demanded revenge. All I had done was step out of the role that kept the system balanced. Watching from a distance, I realized something uncomfortable but freeing. A structure that collapses when one person stops carrying the weight was never stable to begin with. And I wasn't responsible for propping it up just to prove I could. My new life didn't arrive with fanfare. It was quieter than the one I left behind, and at first, that silence felt unfamiliar, almost suspicious. There were no doors slamming, no emotional weather shifts I had to track before speaking. Just space. I moved into Marianne's spare room and started over in small, ordinary ways. I enrolled in classes without needing permission. I found a part-time job that paid modestly but asked nothing of my emotional endurance. People learned my name without attaching it to anyone else's reputation. There were days I felt guilty for how calm everything was, as if peace were something I hadn't earned. But slowly, that feeling faded. I began to understand that stability didn't have to be loud to be real. I learned what it was like to make plans that didn't change at the last minute. To celebrate small wins without worrying they'd provoke resentment. To exist without being labeled strong as a warning. When my next birthday came, there was no party, just a dinner Marianne cooked and a few friends who showed up because they wanted to. No explanations were needed. No apologies were rehearsed. Nothing had to be managed. That night, as I blew out the candles, it struck me how different the moment felt. I wasn't bracing for disappointment. I wasn't scanning the room for someone else's mood. It was simple, honest, mine. And in that simplicity, I realized I hadn't shrunk my life by leaving. I'd stripped away everything that required me to disappear in order to belong. Before I end this story, I want to speak to you not as a narrator, but as a person who lived this. If you've ever been told you're strong, when what people really meant was you'll survive being ignored, then you already understand why I chose to walk away. I didn't leave because I hated my family, I left because staying meant slowly disappearing. If you support that choice, if you believe that protecting your peace is not selfish, I hope you'll say so in the comments. Your words matter more than you think, not just to me, but to everyone reading who's still questioning their own worth. Here's what I learned, and what I hope you take with you. Love that only exists when you stay quiet isn't love. Families are supposed to grow when someone says, "This hurt me," not punish them for it. If every time you speak up you're told to be patient, understanding, or grateful instead of being heard, that's not strength, that's endurance. And endurance without care leads to burnout, not belonging. You're allowed to set boundaries. You're allowed to step away. And you're allowed to build a life that doesn't require you to shrink so others can stay comfortable. If this story resonated with you, please share your thoughts below. I read them. I care about them. And if you want more stories like this, stories about reclaiming your voice, your choices, and your dignity, please subscribe to the channel, like this video, and join the conversation. You're not alone here.